For a country with a population of more than a billion, it's honestly disappointing to see the lack of talent we have when it comes to stand up comedy. Being the most dominant part of YouTube India, second only to horny content, of course, it's no surprise that it's mostly basic bimbo humor that only basic bimbos find funny. Now, I love stand up as an act form. The best part about it is that anybody can pick up a mic and do stand up comedy. And the worst part about it is also that anybody can pick up a mic and do stand up comedy. I mean, seeing interviews of Judd Apatow or Louis C.K., they say that it takes almost 7 to 10 years to form a good stand up comedian. But in India, the scene is as if whoever decided to make a video became famous.
Go to a movie theater and don't stand for the national anthem. Oh shit! Got real! When you stand up in that fear, that goosebumps come, no, that's called fear, buddy. Forget that, that's too ballsy. Just think about not standing for the national anthem, and from the popcorn, no, a rifle will come out like this. Sorry.
First, apology denied. And second, yeah, you should be sorry for making such a shitty joke. And while you're at the subject, apologize for this shit too.
You have chappal. What a word, chappal. It sounds like a disease. Sir, your son has 3rd degree chappal. It's okay, kill him. I don't want him inside. It's okay.
I mean, what even is this shit? How does it even qualify as stand up comedy? The stand up scene in India is as generic and predictable as it gets. And I'll explain this by discussing their manner and matter. So, firstly, most of these supposed comedians all belong to the same cities, either Delhi, Bombay, or Bangalore. Now, I'm not a butthurt Bihari boy who wants more diversity in the field of comedy, but the fact that these are all just metro kids is also tied to how limited and repetitive their content is. 100% of their matter only comprises of these 5 topics. First and foremost, engineering, of course. Since half the fucking country is made up of engineers, they'll bust a nut when they hear the word in an act. Second, bachelors and relationships, considering that the other half of the nation is made up of loners. Thirdly, region-based humor shit like South Delhi ke log, Bangalore ka traffic, Gurgaon, Noida, so on and so forth. And how can I forget Indian parents, of course, since every fucking comedian wants to rip off Russell Peters. And lastly, mundane school and college humor shit like exams, Tinder, the usual. Honorable mention for Modi and Rahul Gandhi humor, but that is also very limited and rare. But more importantly, I even surprised myself with the amount of videos I was able to find on the same topics. It just shows how everybody has lost their individuality in a bid to be relatable. Since relatability sells, people value it more than actual good content. Moving on, not only is their content very limited, but their appeal is also very limited to a specific kind of demographic. Most of them being teenage girls, of course, but they have a big circle jerk going on of a specific kind of audience that suck them off in each and every single one of their shows.
हम बता दें इस शहर की सबसे सुंदर लड़की कौन है पता है तुम ये शहर सांस किसकी वजह से लग रहा पता है तुम ये देश कौन चला रहा पता है तुम लोग जिंदगी किसकी वजह से जी रहे पता है तुम अरे तुम हुस्न परी तुम जाने जहां तुम सबसे हंसी तुम सबसे जवां सौंदर्य साबुन निर्म
Shut the fuck up, bitch. Like, how the fuck do you find this shit funny? It's honestly beyond me at this point of time. But anyway, I'll move on to the last part of my explanation, which is regarding their manner. So all of them apply the same repetitive formula to their acts. So on top of their worthless and unfunny acts, they'll take overly long pauses as if they've said the wittiest shit ever, overdo their callbacks and ruin the original joke in the first place. And of course, the go-to of every Indian comedian, throw in a cheap Hindi swear word for desperate laughs.
I'm gonna catch you right now.
So now that I've given you a general theory of what's wrong with these comedians, I'll prove to you my theory by discussing certain examples. Also, for the sake of this video, I'm not going to include female comics like these because I don't want to develop a tumor by seeing content I've seen a million times about their period, sex, and their sexual escapades. So let's get on with it. I'll begin by talking about the primary reason I decided to make this video in the first place, the cancerous Kenny Sebastian himself. This guy is a bad comedian and a worse musician. So Sir Kenny undeniably panders to an audience of teenage chicks, In all the painful videos of his that I had to watch, I could only hear screams from chicks throughout. Let's pick up from the last video of his that I was watching, Chappals versus Shoes.
Like the cool footwear for guys is shoes. Shoes. What a word. Shoes. I would like the sauteed mushroom and shoes. Excellent choice. It's the sound of breeze. It's what you tell your partner after you kiss a shoes.
Wow, what a master of observational comedy. Jerry Seinfeld ain't got shit on this bitch.
I shoes you. Chappal H.
The paid audience might find this shit funny, but I certainly do not.
Chappal is so easy to wear also. Like you put it on the ground, just ready to go, man. Ready to go. Shoes, you have to first of all sit down. And then you have to tie your lace. And there'll be some idiots who stand up and tie their lace. Like just... And everyone in the room gets uncomfortable. Like, just sit down, bro. Just sit down. Why don't you sit down and tie your lace? No, I got this. Oh God. Just sit down. Everyone's just...
Now, after seeing this, you might think that this guy makes absolutely no sense at all, and you're right. I was myself wondering why his act is full of so terrible and childish parallels like chappals, shoes, shoe racks, socks, and the simple answer to that is that this guy is out of content. He just had one half decent punchline about how chappal is a family whore, but decided to milk that for 5 minutes. And it's pretty obvious why, because whatever shit you feed to basic bitches, they'll shove it down their throat. For fuck's sake, Kenny. Step up your game or after a point of time, even teenage chicks won't get
Aroused.
Secondly, we have the CEO of Bachelors himself, Mr. Zakir Khan. So, Mr. Lonely Desperate, or Sucklond as he chooses to call himself, appeals to like-minded loners. Now, comedians generally have a callback from the same show, but this guy does the same decade-old callback in every single show about the Sucklonda shit. Stop fucking saying that. It stopped being funny 10 years ago. It's as if he has to make a shit ton of extra effort not to say
सख्त लौंडा सख्त लौंडे मैं सख्त लौंडा कौन सख्ती 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 से
So, Mr. Saktlonda is an idol for masturbating singles whose sole hope in life of sex is arranged marriages. And his content also aims at appealing these people because it revolves around topics like chicks and his desperate attempts to catch their attention. Simp. In the name of stand up comedy, this guy basically does a lazy conversation on stage. It's practically a boring TED talk at this point of time, minus any information of value. But what's an even more concerning matter is the way that this guy talks about women in such a desperate manner that it comes off as creepy. I mean, don't take my word for it, but look at this stand up material of him literally talking about stalking a newlywed wife online.
लड़की की प्रोफाइल क्लिक प्रोफाइल पिक्चर क्लिक पहली फोटो वो वाली उसकी वही जो अभी बीच वाली वो येलो चश्मा चूड़े वाइट मैंने सही है चलो तो देख लिया आगे बढ़ो दूसरी फोटो उसकी वो दुल्हन वाली वो क्या वो प्री वेडिंग शूट फोटो शूट ऐसे 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 वाला मैं कहा सही है चल रही है अरे बहुत ही से कैंडिडेट फोटो से सेल्फी खींची हुई से बिस्तर पे बाल कंधा से दिख रहा है मैंने कहा लिविंग इट टू द इमेजिनेशन नागा कोई नहीं कंट्रोल
Wait, control what? The urge to masturbate?
अभी मिशन पे है फरकना नहीं है मिशन फोकस
Fuck, I guess I was right.
normally text है when going text है and going at stuff that I'm good going
Predator.
के लिए है मेरा पति कति चूतिया है प्लीज मुझे इससे बचाओ अभी के अभी
Predator.
love you hard
For an ugly bachelor, Mr. Zakir Khan's all-knowing smug persona that generalizes women sure is surprising.
360 डिग्री घेरना है सैड है ना बंदी अप्रोच ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा अभी
What the fuck? How creepy is that?
हाँ प्रोफाइल पे क्लिक किया मैं चैट पे क्लिक किया मैं खुली चैट मैंने लिखा है सब तरह से घेर रहे भाई एकदम सब सही जा रहा है जैसी चैट विंडो खुलवाना है यार भाई तो मेरी जिंदगी के सारे वीक मोमेंट मेरी आंखों के सामने आ गए सब मेरी आंखों के सामने मुझे दिख रहा था क्योंकि मैंने जैसे इसको हाई लिखा तो विंडो खुल गई और उसमें आ रहा था कि मैंने इसको 2011 में भी हाई लिखे हुए थे जिसका इसने रिप्लाई नहीं किया जो 13 में हाई लिखा जिसका उसने 15 में नहीं किया और एक 16 एक और हाई लटक रहा जिसका भी रिप्लाई नहीं आने वाला
Hold up. Let me understand this. This guy did an entire set about stalking a married woman late at night while trying hard not to jack off looking at a photo where her shoulder is exposed. Then he thinks that a random Facebook update is a move towards him. So he bothers her with an unsolicited message that he sends on a regular basis, and she consciously chooses to ignore that again and again. This isn't funny, it's creepy cringe. I mean, I was puzzled at first, wondering why Mr. Zakir Khan would choose to do such a stand up act about stalking and then include stuff about Tharak. But then I realized that Mr. Creepy Khan has sure figured out his demographic. He did this with the intention so that the audience can relate to it, and now you can figure out for yourself what kind of an audience he wants to relate to. But like I said in the beginning of this video, considering that stand-up is only second to horny content on YouTube India, Mr. Khan has sure found a sweet spot. Regardless, I can't watch any more of this stuff because Zakir Bhai makes me want to throw up and Sir Kenny makes me gag. I mean, arguably two of the biggest stand-up comics in India are either stretching out the most basic observations to make a set, or they are making a set about stalking girls and making women uncomfortable. It's pretty disappointing. So I guess that's it. And in conclusion,
बिल्ली के गू